Welcome to Marath, the Will of the Wild. Hope you're excited for some Naya Hydras. Always a lot of fun to say that. But before we jump into the deck tech, this is brought to you by mtgotraders.com. So let's start off with Marath. We have Marath. It's going to be Naya colors, red, green, and white. Marath is going to enter the battlefield with a number of +1 counters on it equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it. So let's say we're going to cast it for 3 the initial turn. It's going to enter the battlefield with 3 +1 counters on it. It gets sent back to the command zone. We have to pay 5 mana to get it back out. And it's going to enter the battlefield with 5 +1 counters on it. It also has the modal ability of X remove X counters from Marath. We can put X counters on target creature. We can deal X damage to target creature or player, or we can put an XX green elemental creature token onto the battlefield, and X cannot be 0. Now, as far as this particular build of the deck, there's different ways you can go with Marath. I wanted to go with a Hydra deck. I don't really have any sort of Hydra deck on my channel, and I wanted to have a home for Hydras as they get released to kind of put them in there. So let's kind of jump into some of the Hydras that we're running in the deck. I'm not going to cover all of them in here. I'm just covering some of the highlighted Hydras. Mistcutter Hydra, we can kind of push through on some blue counter spells. Hooded Hydra is going to be perfect for the deck in that it kind of fits on theme with some of the token enchantments that we're running in here. And then a Protean Hydra, it's going to enter the battlefield with X counters on it, but if it's going to be dealt damage, remove that many counters from it, and then put 2 counters on it at the beginning of the next end step. So it's a good way for us to we can deal that damage to it with Marath, and then get a few more counters on it at the beginning of the next end step. Outside of that, we have my absolute favorite Hydra. That's going to be Primordial Hydra, and then Mana Gorger Hydra is a really fun Hydra to get down whenever a player casts a spell, which is going to count for us and our opponent. We get to put a +1 counter on it. But main thing with Primordial Hydra, when I got into Magic, Primordial Hydra was the mythic rare that I opened it up one time and I was just taken aback about it, and I cannot tell you how many times I've cast Primordial Hydra. So to finally have a home where I get to play Primordial Hydra is a lot of fun, and in fact it's my favorite Hydra in the deck. Just a little bit of an editor's note on that, whatever you want to call it. Outside of the mono green Hydras, we're also running a couple different colored Hydras in here. Apocalypse Hydra, Savage Born Hydra, and then Olas, the Hate Seed. All of these serve different purposes. I'm not going to sit here and bore you and read them all. I just wanted to highlight some of the different Hydras. Now with the Photo Hydra, this is really cool. If damage would be dealt to it, put that many +1 counters on it instead. We also have Sprouting Hydra. That way if something happens to it, we get to put a token of it onto the battlefield. So let's say that our opponent's being pretty aggressive. We can start going for some Marath activations, dealing damage to it, start making a bunch of copies of it, and have a lot of fun. Now outside of the actual Hydras in the deck, some of the support cards that we're running Parallel Lives in here, Doubling Season, Primal Vigor. All of these are great ways to increase the amount of +1 counters that we're putting onto our creatures, and at the same time taking advantage of some of the tokens off Marath. Let's say that we're not really in a good spot to get some of the Hydras going. If we want to start going Elemental Token Beat Sticks, we can use all of these cards to help us get a few extra tokens onto the battlefield. Now outside of the enchantments, we are running a few what I would call just +1 counter kind of sinkholes. We have Mauler, Forgotten Ancient, Sunscorched Regent. These are all creatures that we can get down, and as players cast spells, we can put counters on it and shift them around as we see fit if we need to put them onto some of the Hydras. Outside of that, we're running a few tutors in here that work really well in the deck. Both recruiters in here, they're going to be able to search our library with a card with power 2 or less. And all these Hydras are basically 0/0 because they're going to enter the battlefield with X counters on it. So basically, Recruiter and Imperial Recruiter are going to turn our deck online for any sort of Hydra that we need. We're also running Sigil of the Clans. Love this card. I don't think it sees enough play in Commander. Search your library for up to 3 creature cards, reveal them, and then randomly get to put one into our hand. But it fits our deck really perfectly. You know, say we need to grab 2 recruiters or something like that, or if we want to just grab an assortment of mana dorks or an assortment of Hydras. Anyway, you blow on that signal, the Horns Clan, and they'll come running. Outside of the tutors that we're running a couple Planeswalkers in here. We have a Johnny, the green-white Planeswalker. Distribute 3 +1 counters among 1, 2, or 3 creatures that you control. And if we're feeling ambitious, maybe we can get to that -8 and gain 100 life, who knows. Outside of that, we're running Nissa. Get the plant tokens, once again, kind of keeps on theme with the Parallel Lives. And for the -2 ability, we get to put +1 counter on each creature that we control. So mainly we're going to be using it for that -2 ability. Outside of the Planeswalkers, we're running a couple Enrage abilities in here. We have Ripjaw Raptor and Ranging Raptors. We can deal that damage to them, draw a card, or search our library for a basic land card going off the Marath activation. Outside of some of the Enraged dinosaurs, we're also running a couple utility creatures in here that care about +1 counters. We have hardened scales. If one or more +1 counters that we put on there, you put that many +1. So let's say that Marath is going to enter the battlefield with 3 +1 counters on there. We get down hardened scales. It's going to enter the battlefield as a 4/4 instead. And they also have the Crusade. So whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1 counter on each creature that you control. Really good card. We can start getting some tokens going to really take advantage of the Crusade. Outside of the enchantments, we have a couple +1 counter creatures that matter. Ivy Lane Denizen, whenever another green creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1 counter on target creature. And then Champion of Lambholt. Creatures with power less than the power can't block creatures that you control. So it kind of puts us in a spot where if we need to swing in, we can get down Champion and get some good +1 counters going. Now, outside of the +1 counters, we're running some good utility cards in here. Running red-white, so definitely going to run a Symbol of Legion. Love this card. Get the +1 counter red and white, not +1 counter, excuse me, the 1/1 red and white soldier creature tokens with haste, and then we keep getting those muster counters on there, which actually works really well doubling season. We also have an alternative win condition with Mael's Aria. Beginning of our upkeep, put a +1 counter on each creature you control. If we control a creature with power 5 or greater, then we gain 10 life. If we control a creature with power 10 or greater, then we win the game if we control a creature with power 20 or greater. Definitely fun to always run alternative win conditions like that. And if the Hydras get a little bit too rowdy, we have Breon WrestleMania to throw those Hydras back over to our opponent. Now that's going to wrap up the deck tech in a nutshell. I do have 3 gameplay videos for you up, and I'm excited to start recording more videos with Marath. So if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.